We've all heard it before, right? Wait, before we begin the video, I just want to give a heads up that there will be a lot, and I mean a lot, of Danganronpa V3 spoilers. So if you have not finished the game, even if you're almost done, if you have not completely finished the game, I would advise you not to watch this video because you will get severely spoiled. So, you have been forewarned. Anyway, for those who are still left, we've all heard it before, right? The Danganronpa V3 ending is the worst. The Danganronpa V3 mastermind is not at all interesting, and there is just a lot of disappointment surrounding that whole thing in general. Right? Right! No, that's not what we'll be talking about today. Today, we will be going in depth about the Danganronpa V3 ending, and more specifically, we will be going in depth about its mastermind, Tsumugi Shirogane. Hey everyone, it's Melody Snowflake. It's been a very long time since I did one of these character analysis videos for Danganronpa, and I'm really excited to dive into the character of Tsumugi Shirogane, the most plain, at least self-proclaimed plain character in the game. And a lot of the fans seem to agree. A lot of people seem to think that Tsumugi doesn't have much going on for her, and that she's not even well written, and that the Danganronpa V3 ending was, something of a disappointment to most people. And while I completely understand and get the argument behind all of that, I think that causes people to not look much into Tsumugi as a character herself, and at first it might seem like there's not much to look at. She's just evil mastermind, right? Working for Team Danganronpa, evil corporation. But if you actually look a little bit more, there is quite a little bit to unpack. And I don't mean that in a complex way. I don't mean that she has hidden motives or anything like that. She definitely does everything she does for the game that she really loves and to push the game forward and everything of the sort. But her reasoning behind it is a little bit more human than some of us might think about at first glance. And while I'm not saying anything she did was right or even morally good, we could dive into her mindset and into her thought process and to see why she may have felt a little less guilt than a normal person would have for something like that. Villains are an interesting character study to go down the road of, and at some point I really would love to tackle a lot of Danganronpa antagonists and villains and just a lot of different characters from the series in general, and I know these videos are coming out really slowly, but for now let's start with Tsumugi because I feel like she is one of the least explored characters. I was actually inspired to make this video because of a conversation I had with my best friend Fire Art the other day, so here's a shout out to you, Fire Art. She's a huge fan of Tsumugi, and we talked a little bit about her character. Actually, no, we spent about half an hour talking about her character, and we came to the following conclusions that I'll be talking about in this video. For a lot of character analysis I usually start from the beginning, but for Tsumugi, there really isn't a beginning to start with. For most of the story, she's mostly in the background, and that is intentional, and I'll get into why in a later part of this video. But to start with Tsumugi's analysis, we need to go a little bit into what her ultimate is, and a little bit about her free time events as well. So, going into Tsumugi's character in general, Tsumugi is a fandom person. She's a cosplayer, she likes going to conventions, as she mentioned in one of her free time events, and she doesn't feel like she stands out very much. She always says she's very plain in both the main game and in other bonus events, and she doesn't really seem to be someone who thinks of herself as someone who would be noticed or who would get as much attention as possible. We don't know how much of this is true and how much of this was just built by Tsumugi herself for the narrative of Danganronpa, but a lot of the things she says definitely has some truth to it. For instance, she's definitely a really good cosplayer. That is not fake. She can mimic so many characters down to the voice, and she can do so many roles extremely convincingly. So while the ending of Danganronpa V3 seems to say that ultimates and talents and everything is just fiction, there seems to be some real talent in the world, and Tsumugi is one of them, which inclines me to believe that she was actually telling the truth in a lot of her free time events, especially about how she lives her life. Because, I mean, think about it. She did state, even in the very last trial, that she was a big fan of Danganronpa, which is why she's even doing all of this in the first place. That she really loves the series. So it partners perfectly hand in hand with the fact that she goes to conventions and does cosplays and loves anime and all of that stuff that she's been talking about throughout the whole series. So it's safe to say that all of that is true because it matches very well. So with all of that being said, Tsumugi loves her fandoms, and Danganronpa is her favorite. And in her world, Danganronpa is not just a video game. Danganronpa is an actual live-action series played by actors at first, but then eventually turned into what she calls the ultimate real fiction, where actual real people get turned into characters to play the game. Now, I know what you're thinking. Danganronpa being a live-action series in that world is very, very messed up. I mean, having real people kill each other on screen, even if they were turned into character versions of whatever, they are still real people with their own thoughts, feelings, and everything, right? And yes, that is true. It is very, very messed up. But Tsumugi, being a fandom person, never saw it that way. She saw it as an entertaining story. And even if the people involved were real people, the scenarios and basically all the motives and everything of the Danganronpa series itself was still fictional. Even if they got real people to play it, they transformed those real people into actual characters. And those characters are what played the roles needed for the story to work out. Tsumugi, being a fan of Danganronpa, loved the stories and the characters. So when she got a chance to work with Team Danganronpa and to lead her own killing game, she was obviously very eager to do so. I mean, if you had a series you really liked and you suddenly got a chance to be a writer on it, you would be thrilled as well. But of course, with Danganronpa being more than just a simple writing series where you just write the script and you get voice actors or actors to play the role, Tsumugi had to do a little bit more than just write the story. She had to write it, sure, but she also had to come up with the characters and OCs and everything that you need to do for an original series. And since this world has real people turn into characters rather than having actors play the role, Tsumugi also had to control the game from the inside to make sure that these real characters, as we'll call them for the rest of the video, are going to play their parts correctly. This is why Tsumugi spends most of the game just silently in the background observing. And whenever the trial goes to a specific point that she feels like she needs to steer it in the right direction, she would do something like react appropriately. For example, in Chapter 5, when everyone seems to be questioning about the mastermind's identity, and, everyone was horrified about Kokichi doing what he did, and Tsumugi just played along because she needed them to go in that direction. She needed them to get on that mindset, and in order for the story to go the way it should. So a lot of the times Tsumugi seems very plain and in the background of the story, but you might have noticed that a few things happened throughout the main Danganronpa game that were Tsumugi's doing. Like, for example, Rantaro's death, she made it look like Kaede did it, and that was because she realized that at some point in the story, the characters weren't going to do what she wrote them to do. Because the problem with making real characters is that real characters can now think for themselves. So even if you wrote them to have a certain way of thinking and to react a certain way in certain circumstances, the fact is now they have free will. And there's always a chance that they will go off script. And this is Tsumugi's debut. This was her first time working with Team Danganronpa. And don't forget, in this world, Team Danganronpa is a big company. Working with them is a huge deal. Danganronpa is a very popular series. Tsumugi has loved it since she was a kid. She got to write for it, and now she's got to be a part of it in earnest. She wants her first debut story to go really well. Were they real characters? Yes. Did they have thoughts and feelings? Yes. But to Tsumugi, these were characters she created. These were people she turned into characters she created, and she wanted her story, her debut story, to go good, to go well. So when she realized that Kaede, like she mentioned in her own script, wasn't going to do the murder that she planned for her to do, she had to take action into her own hands and create the story that she wanted to create. She's a writer. she is a content creator, and she, as messed up as it is in this world, because this world uses real people, was just trying to make her story go well and to make her characters go back on script and on track. Same thing when Kokichi tried to usurp the mastermind's position in chapter 5. She did do a very messed up thing in that chapter as well by putting the flashback light there and manipulating Maki to, finish Kokichi off and everything. But Kokichi usurping the mastermind was definitely not her intention, because everyone suddenly became uninterested in doing anything for 3 whole days. And I'm pretty sure that is not what you, as a writer who's trying to make an engaging story, wants to happen for the audience to see. Don't forget, this is live television. Tsumugi's whole reputation, her debut, it's all on the line here. So for her, it's like, oh no, my characters are going so off script. I've got to get them back on track. What can I do? And she knows her characters better than anyone since she wrote these characters. So she grabbed a flashback light. She knew exactly what would make them tick, and she did what she had to do to get the story back on track. Was everything she did messed up? Yes. Did she kill people indirectly many times and one time directly? Yes, definitely. Was it messed up? Yes. But for Tsumugi, to her, it's just real people turned into characters she created, and she wanted those characters to tell the right story, to act the way she envisioned them. If someone wrote your OC or your original character off character or inaccurately, you'd want to correct them too. And, well, in these cases, the characters are writing themselves incorrectly in Tsumugi's eyes. She wrote them to react and do certain things in the Killing Game, and they didn't react or do certain things in the Killing Game. So, she fixed that as drastically as she could. It hurt them, it harmed them, and it affected them in a lot of negative ways, and it wasn't right for people who could think and control their own destinies, but Tsumugi never saw them that way because she literally just wrote them as her characters. It is true that once you give someone the mind of a character, but they're still a real person, they technically aren't yours anymore to control because they are their own people now. But Tsumugi, being a content creator and being in this world where real characters are a thing, she didn't see it that way. She just saw it as her characters being brought to life. After all, if your characters suddenly came to life, you'd be in awe too, and you'd expect them to act a certain way. Sure, you're not in a killing game and you're not trying to control them, but you would have a certain expectation for how they would act. And since Tsumugi has that expectation, and she is on live TV, and she is a writer for this series that she needs to go well because it's her debut, once they start not acting right, she had to do something about it. She had to change the course of their actions so that the story continues. I'm not saying that anything Tsumugi did to any of these characters and people were correct. She is still a villain and the mastermind, but to her, she was just being a writer, a content creator, and she never saw them as people. She saw them as characters, and authors hurt their characters all the time for the sake of drama, for the sake of a good story. And since these are just real, brought-to-life version of those characters, she didn't see anything as wrong with it, as if it was real people. So, Tsumugi never really intended to, I wouldn't say she never intended to hurt them because she did, but she never really thought of it as, I'm hurting real people and I'm causing pain and suffering, because to her, she's writing a bunch of characters, and when you write a bunch of characters, you need that pain and suffering to make them engaging. That's just a little breakdown of Tsumugi as a character. It's not as complicated as some of my other character analysis, but she is interesting, and I'm really glad I got to talk about her today. Again, I'm not trying to say she did anything right by hurting them, but I am thinking about how she was seeing the whole situation. And it's also why she was so quiet, in the background. She didn't want to intervene with anything as much as possible. She did write them a certain way, and she just wanted to be there, to be able to be with her characters. It must be an amazing feeling for a creator to be with their characters. And she was probably just enjoying it for the most part, because she's seeing a story she wrote play out in real life. If you see a story you wrote be made into a movie, you'd be amazed too. You wouldn't want to mess that up, and you'd want it to go as well as possible. And that's exactly what Tsumugi is trying to do. Just that in this world, real characters are a thing and not actors. And to get real characters to do what you need them to do, you need to do more than just give them acting directions or script direction. And since it's live TV, you can't just go cut, pause, redo another take. So Tsumugi had to control everything from the inside, get them to do things differently, get them to feel things differently, so they would do things differently, if that makes any sense. And that's how we end up with the Tsumugi, the plain mastermind we know. At the end of the day, Tsumugi is actually a content creator like a lot of us in fandoms. Sure, we don't actually hurt any real living, breathing, thinking people, but which content creator wouldn't put a bit of pain and suffering on their characters to create the ultimate drama, especially when you're on live TV and your whole debut is on the line. Thank you so much for watching this shorter character analysis, and I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye!